How's it going, guys? It's the Pixelate Pumpkin, and in today's video, I'll be taking a look at Home Depot's new for 2022 Halloween lineup. This got leaked about a month ago, and I'm getting around to it now since, again, I was on a 2-month break or so. But anyways, I'm back to take a look at their entire lineup. Now, I don't know why or how this got leaked so early. I'm kind of disappointed. I'd rather take a look at this stuff when it's closer to the season. But regardless, I'm here in today's video to take a look at it for you guys. So I will be breaking down each prop one by one, giving my thoughts on them and what I think they'll do since it's only photos for now. But anyways, regardless, I'm pretty excited since there's a lot of unique and original stuff this year. So I guess without any more hesitation, let's just jump right into our first prop. I'll be taking a look at all the life sizes first, and then there's a few statics and tabletops I'll be looking at after. So anyways, let's go right into the first prop. The first prop we'll be taking a look at today is this new 10-foot werewolf. So this is another one of their giant props in their giant prop series they have going on, which are always extremely popular. And surprisingly, it seems like there's going to be 2 of them this year, so I'm excited to see them in person. But this one, for the first time, is actually animated. I don't know how much of this is animated. It would be sick if the arms moved, but for sure the mouth looks like it will be moving on this prop. Overall, I think this is a really awesome looking werewolf, but the fact that it's 10 feet really doesn't make much sense to me, and I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this line of props. Sure, they are huge, and they do look awesome in any yard, and just the sheer scale of them alone makes them look cool, but just really, I don't understand why it has to be 10 feet tall for a werewolf especially. It doesn't make too much sense to me. I think more a 7 or 8 foot prop would make more sense. But I don't know. I still think it's really cool, and I think the design of it is great. And I cannot wait to see the full animation here. Here's another photo of it. It looks like at some sort of convention where they're showing off their props or some sort of set that they're filming them on for this year. Again, from this angle, it does look pretty awesome as well, and you get to see a little bit more of the detail there. So regardless, I'm excited to see what it does, but really, I'm not all too interested in this one, but still, I'm sure a lot of people will love it, and I'm sure this is going to be a massive seller for this year. I'm guessing this is probably going to be priced between $400 or $500, something very expensive like that, considering it is animated, and this is the most detailed one we have yet. So, I don't know. Anyways, let's head to our next prop. The next prop we have is actually another gigantic prop. From what I've heard and seen of this guy, this thing is supposed to be 15 feet tall, apparently. So one of the tallest consumer-grade animatronics we have ever seen. Probably the tallest we have ever seen. I just think it's insane that this thing is going to be 15 feet tall. That is just mind-blowing to me. And I think it looks really awesome. I understand why this one will be so huge. It is a giant phantom. It makes sense considering it is not like a biological creature like a werewolf or a skeleton, which really should be human-sized. This is awesome. I think this is going to be a great one for this year. I like how it lights up. I doubt it will have animation or any sounds to it. I think it's just going to be a static, just gigantic standing prop. And I think this thing looks awesome. I don't know how weatherproof it's going to be because you're going to have to take it in when it rains, which is going to suck considering how huge it is. But I think this is going to be an awesome one this year, and I guarantee you it'll be another really good seller. It doesn't fit in quite with the other props. Personally, I don't think it really matches the line they're going for, but there's like 3 huge props. I know I said 2 before, but there's another one that I forgot about, which I'll talk about next. But anyways, for this one, I definitely like it better than the werewolf. I just think it looks awesome. And if they do bring it into stores, it's just going to be gigantic, which is going to be insane. So I'm hoping they do. Our third and final giant prop for this year is a witch prop, which is interesting. And I honestly quite like a lot how they ended up making this one with the floating effect here. I'm not sure how tall this is going to be. I'm guessing it's probably going to be another 12 or 10 foot one. Maybe with the hat, it'll be pushing 12 feet. But regardless, this one's actually really cool in my opinion. I like how they didn't make the witch herself all that big, but the fact that she's hovering above the ground with her broom being attached to it is something I really like. I think this is a very clever way to go about making a 12-foot witch prop, and it works definitely really well in my opinion. This is just one of the better 12-foot characters in my opinion. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me here saying this one's the best, which I don't think it is. I think the Phantom we just took a look at is the best giant prop. But I think this one is very clever and probably my second favorite out of all of them, since it makes a lot more sense in terms of logistics and if it was a real thing almost. I don't know. But anyways, this is just another cool one in my opinion. I think it is a very clever way to go around making a 12-foot witch prop. overall, this one's really good and very clever. I really like the floating effect. I just hope it is able to support all that weight. Now for a look at our first normal life-size prop that isn't absolutely gigantic, even though this one does look quite big. It's not 12 feet tall. But anyways, this is a brand new Oogie Boogie prop from Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, this is really interesting in my opinion, since we had Jack, we had Sally, so Oogie Boogie seemed like the next move to make here, and I think the way they execute it really isn't all that good in my opinion. It kind of depends on the lighting, I guess. Obviously, there is a lot of light being applied to the prop in this photo. Maybe it'll look a little bit more green, but I don't know. It just looks fairly cheap to me, very bland in terms of the materials used. I think they just made the whole thing green instead of having the burlap color. I think it would have ended out looking a lot better. I don't know, though. I'm really excited to see what it does. It doesn't look like Oogie Boogie, at least. And I don't know. I definitely like Jack the best still. I don't know how this one is going to look and how big it'll be. But it is really cool, since I know there's a ton of people who've been wanting a Oogie Boogie animatronic for a while now. I think this one works well. So I'm just interested to see what it does. But I'm a little bit concerned since it doesn't look fairly cheap. But we'll have to wait and see. Overall, still really cool to see another licensed Nightmare Before Christmas prop. Next up, we have a very interesting blend of a lot of different types of props here, in my opinion. I think this one is really interesting and really unique, and I'm excited to see what it does. But this seems to be a skeletal gravedigger, maybe some sort of gothic theme going on here as well. Clown. Now, this is really interesting in my opinion. These three things coming together and creating a prop shouldn't really work in my opinion, but somehow they managed to pull it off in a really interesting way here. Now, I think this prop is really gonna, if it sells well, or like, in my opinion, will be cool if it has really good phrases and interesting animation. For one, the concept here is already great, but I think just by going off the way it looks, it doesn't seem like it's going to be the most like thrilling prop, but if it has really good phrases and really good animation, then I think that would make it a standout prop for this year and one that will be remembered. Nonetheless, this already is going to be remembered for being super unique looking and having a very interesting blend of themes going on. Overall, I like it a lot. I just think the left hand is way too big, but just a very, very interesting prop here. I really can't put it into words how I feel about this thing. It's just really interesting. Next up, we have a new Scarecrow prop for Home Depot this year. I'm pretty sure this is a Techie prop, and honestly, I'm kind of disappointed by this. Considering we got Flaming Scarecrow from Home Depot, this one is just lacking in all aspects. First of all, the face is not scary at all. Typically, Techie Toys has very creepy looking scarecrow faces. This is just not one of them. Also, the whole prop seems very, very bland in terms of its coloring. There isn't much detail or patchwork, or I would expect a little bit of stitching showing or something on his clothes, but really nothing. It's just this bland blue color. And other than that, it just is very, very basic looking. I'm not sure what the animation is, and the pole just sticking out from it, nothing covering it up, looks very ugly. I would like to see maybe a detailed pole or something like they did with Scarecrow Thrasher, where it looks like a bamboo stick almost. I don't know, though. This one just seems very, very, like, bland in my opinion. There's nothing really interesting to it, like Flaming Scarecrow or really any of the other Techie Toy Scarecrows. This might be their first Scarecrow prop that's a flop in my opinion. I love pretty much every single Scarecrow prop Techie releases. I think they are the best at making Scarecrows, and this one just does not really add up with what they are typically capable of. So I don't know, maybe it'll have some insanely good animation, but as of right now, it just looks very bland and very boring. But nonetheless, I'm still looking forward to seeing what it does. Next up, we have an awesome one in my opinion, being the Bartender Skeleton. This is just such an awesome, simple prop. I'm surprised something like it hasn't been done up until this point. I'm a really big fan of this one, actually. I love how the skeleton has some hair and a mustache. That's funny. And it just looks cool. I think this is going to be a pretty good seller this year. It's just classy looking. I don't know how to put it, but I think it'll just have jaw animation. That's about it. It should be relatively cheap. And overall, I just think it is a very unique prop. Like, we really haven't seen anything like this up until this point, which, again, I'm genuinely shocked. I feel like we should have had something like this in the past, maybe years ago, but no. This is completely new, and I like this a lot. Maybe just giving skeletons simple occupations for props would actually work out pretty well. I don't know, though. this one is definitely a cool one in my opinion. Very simple, but also very unique at the same time. And I think it's going to be a big seller this year. Maybe if you own a restaurant, this is something you would get. I don't know. Just a really cool one in my opinion. The next prop we have is a reskin of the Inferno Reaper from last year, and I have to say I probably will end up liking this one better. I think the red cloak looks really nice here. Very good red color they chose for sure here. And I think the scythe looks awesome. That thing looks massive. It looks to be even a few feet taller than him, which is crazy. And overall, I just think this is another cool Reaper character. Sure, it is a reskin, but I think they pulled it off really well here. And I like how a lot of the ribcage and even the spine is showing, which is something we don't see too often. It's typically just the ribcage, so that's another cool detail. Overall, I'm looking forward to seeing if this one is a complete reskin of the Inferno Reaper, which it completely looks like. So it will have servo motion, which is going to be awesome. But other than that, this just looks like a really cool Reaper prop. And yeah, this one is pretty cool. I honestly think it's going to be better than the Inferno Reaper. Next up, we have a new Techie Toys Witch prop, which is really interesting here since it seems to be using the same mechanism and pretty much same everything as the lunging vampire from Spirit Halloween years ago. So this is really interesting to see that Techie is reusing this motor again and basically creating a new prop with this motor since I don't think they've done it before. And having a witch is an interesting choice. I think the witch looks very much like a classic Halloween witch you would see, which I like a lot. Very similar to their ghost witches, I think they called them last year. The green one, I really love that one. So it is cool to see another very classic looking witch here. I'm going to be honest, I like this one a lot, but I feel like the phrases it has to make sense for the prop being a lunging prop, and I don't even think we've had many lunging witch props before. Sure, you have the SVI ones, but ones that actually give a really good jump scare, we've really never seen before, so this is going to be quite interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing the phrases it has. Other than that, it is a pretty sick, classic witch prop, and yeah, overall I like it quite a bit. Next up, we have the brand new Techie Toys Clash of Clans Goblin animatronic. Alright, that's not what it's called, but seriously, Techie, you straight up ripped off the design of Clash of Clans' goblins. I mean, this thing looks identical. Anyways, this is a very, very unique prop. It looks like it's going to be pulling that skeleton out of the bag there, and he'll probably be saying a few phrases. I'm guessing it's going to be more of a comical prop, and maybe the skeleton will pop up like a jump scare, or he'll slowly pull it out of the bag. I'm not sure. I'm kind of leaning towards it being a jump scare just from the way they made the skull look on this image, but I don't know. Other than that, this is extremely unique since we really haven't had a single Goblin animatronic before. Maybe there are a few professional Goblin animatronics, but for a consumer grade one, this is completely new. So I'm pretty excited that they're really expanding out with these interesting and unique concepts this year. We never really seen anything like this before, and I think it is going to be pretty cool, but for this one being a big seller this year, I don't know. Goblins really aren't that popular of a Halloween character, or just that popular in general. I'm not sure how this one is going to turn out in terms of how well it sells, but I think it's cool. It just doesn't really fit anything I do personally. Maybe if you're doing a medieval theme, this would fit, since it does look pretty medieval with the clothes he's wearing. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how this one sells to see if we'll get any more Goblin props in the future. But anyways, it's going to be it for this one, so let's head to our next prop. Our next prop is this Sorcerer Dude, and I mean, it's fine, I guess. I feel like we literally just had a Sorcerer at Home Depot last year. I don't think we did, but there's definitely something very similar with the Crystal Ball the year before. And even before that, I think they had like one almost every single year. So seeing this trend come back is kind of old and annoying, and I'm not really sure who even likes these props. Sure, it does have a cool design, but it doesn't really fit any Halloween themes like no one really puts together, unless, again, you're doing a medieval theme, which in that case it kind of fits. But I don't know. It just really isn't my taste personally, and I like the robe a lot here. I do like the color scheme it has going, but for a Halloween animatronic, it just doesn't make all that much sense to me. Next up, we have another witch duo. There really isn't anything I can say here that hasn't been said before, other than that the color scheme on this one looks better than a lot of the other ones, and the witches kind of look creepier, but this has been done so many times by Home Depot, and I think it's really time to put the witch cauldron duo, trio, whatever, out to pasture, because it has been so overdone at this point, and I'm just sick of it. And wrapping up our main life-size section for the video, we have the gigantic spider. I'm guessing this thing is probably about 5 feet tall, but the radius of it has to be like, I don't know, 10 feet maybe. This thing looks gigantic. We've seen stuff like this before. I don't know of this scale though. I'm not sure. But we've definitely seen plenty of gigantic spiders like this before. I'm pretty sure Moore's Costumes this year even has one. So maybe this is a trend that's kind of coming back, or is putting itself out there officially, because we've seen these for a few years now, but they really haven't caught on yet, I feel. But maybe this year will change things and we'll be seeing a lot more of these gigantic spiders. But they're all the same, really. There's nothing much I could say about it other than it's really cool, but I feel like it's just going to take up way too much space anywhere you put it, and really, it's not that menacing looking. This one is alright looking, I guess, but I don't know, it's fine. Next up, we'll be talking about the brand new 3-foot characters from Home Depot this year, and our first ones are a reskin of the pumpkin duo from last year. And, I mean, these are fine. Obviously, they're dressed up for Halloween instead of their farmer's outfits, but if I'm being completely honest, I think last year's versions were a lot better. These seem a lot less detailed in terms of the clothing, and I just think the clothing on the other ones worked better. I don't know, though. It's alright to see these come back. I don't understand why they can't just bring it back how they were the previous year. They always feel the need to have to reskin things. But I don't know. I think them keeping it intuitive, at least, if they're going to bring things back, is nice. But I don't know. It's fine, I guess. They're fine. They're really not as good as the other ones, though. Next up, we have a 3-foot witch prop. I mean, we had a dancing one last year. This one looks just to be like a talking one. We've had so many of these. There really isn't much to say other than that it's interesting. It looks like a beaker or a flask or something. I forget exactly what that type of test tube is called, but I don't know. It's fine, I guess. I mean, I really don't give a shit about these, but alright, let's just talk about the next one. It looks like one of the better 3-foot characters in a while is coming back. I'm pretty sure this one just has a different color scheme than the one last year. I genuinely forget the name, and I just cannot remember the one that this is reskinning from last year. I'm pretty sure all the difference here is that the one last year was wearing a blue skirt and dress. I don't know, though. This could just be the exact same thing. It's just really, I see no difference here, but I could be wrong. There could be a lot of differences, but I don't know. Let's just move on to the tabletops now. Well, my bad. We're not in tabletops yet, but we have a few more large props, I guess, to look at. I'm not really considering them life-size animatronics. But next up, we have this strange-looking ghost standing prop. I'm guessing this is just going to be like a cheap alternative. Maybe it's going to be priced similarly to a hanging prop would be. But it just looks like it's using the classic Sunstar base. I don't know if this is a Sunstar prop, though. I'm guessing it might be a Pan-Asian Creations prop, considering they have had props in the past use those type of bases. Just looks fairly cheap to me, very bland. We've seen stuff like this before. But if it's pretty cheap, it'll be a good thing to pick up if you really don't have the budget for any of the other life sizes. So I'm hoping it is cheap for those people. But anyways, it's fine, I guess. Next up, we have a reskin of the cauldron from last year. This one, instead of being green, has a purple color scheme going on, and it is missing those awesome magma skulls. Instead, they're replaced by, looks like, skeletal eating utensils. So I instantly have to say this one is worse than last year's. I like the purple better, probably, but those magma skulls hanging from it were so cool last year. And this one, it just seems a little bit more bland, in my opinion. Really nothing much else to say about it. Just kind of a downgrade from last year's. Alright, now here's something seriously awesome. This looks to be probably, I'm guessing, around 7 feet tall pumpkin stack. Now, I think this thing is going to be priced around $200. I read that somewhere, I forget where. Unfortunately, this is way out of my price range for something like this. I would rather get a life-size animatronic. But I was thinking if this thing was maybe $75 and maybe they just made all the pumpkins pretty hollow, it could be worth it. And to be honest, I don't really like the faces on the pumpkins all too much. And the way they're shaped, too, does not look natural. So I think it's really cool, and I'm sure if you buy 2 of them and put them next to your door, that would look awesome. But in my opinion, these things it's just all right. I feel like we had better pumpkin stacks, and to be honest, I feel like they could have pulled it off better here. But I don't know. I'm still sure it will look awesome in person. Now, I know I mainly focus on the animatronics and stuff, but there's just one inflatable I had to talk about, and it being this one here. I think this is a really awesome inflatable. Now, I'm not going to get it. I just wanted to talk about it since it looks really cool. It's a Pumpkin Reaper with the crow. That is really cool. I love the crow. If I had to complain about one thing, I wish it wasn't showing the skeletal rib cage, and maybe if all the cloaks were green, and maybe the hands could have been orange as well. But I don't know. I still think it is a really cool inflatable regardless, and I'm pretty sure this will be a good seller for this year. I can't believe I almost skipped over this, but if you guys remember the pumpkin version of this thing we had last year, just a posable pumpkin skeletal dude, we have a skeleton one this year, it looks like, and I mean, it's alright. The eyes are always cool, but I feel like the pumpkin one from last year was better in almost every way possible. This is just a generic looking skeleton. I mean, not generic, I won't go that far, but the face is really cool. It has this really creepy, cartoony look to it, very much like the pumpkin from last year, but I like the pumpkin a lot better. The pumpkin dude better from last year. He had this really uncanny look to him, which is missing from this guy. So, I don't know, it's still alright, I guess. Now onto the tabletops, which are pretty much just flaming pumpkins and pumpkins in general this year. But here we have another new version of the Rotten Flaming Pumpkin, which, if you know me, I own pretty much every single one that has come out already. They are like my favorite line of tabletop items recently. And this one looks awesome. I don't think I'll be getting this one though, since it doesn't really fit with the other ones and I ran out of shelf space for them. But this one is awesome. It reminds me so much of Smoldering Zombie and Smoldering Zombie Groundbreaker. It would go perfect with those props. And I'm sure it will have that same awesome flame effect. But just the amount that's shining through does not look like very much. Taking away from it a little bit, it looks like you'll be able to only see a very little amount of the flames, which if it had a way bigger mouth, the mouth is way too slim. I think it should have been way bigger. It would have looked cool. But again, they nailed that perfect They nailed the rotten effect perfectly here. I think this might be one of the better how it looks actually like it's rotten. It looks like some mold is even growing on it around the burnt parts, which is really cool detailing. Other than that, I just wish the mouth was kind of droopy and bigger so you could see a lot more of the flame effect, but still another awesome addition to the Rotten Flaming Pumpkins. So this pumpkin and the next pumpkin we'll be talking about seems to be made from the same company and possibly a new line of pumpkins like the Rotten Flaming Pumpkins. Maybe we're trying to strike gold twice here with another new line of pumpkins. These ones seem to be cartoony yet also creepy, but I don't know. I think this one is awesome and I'm going to try to get it this year if it's relatively cheap. I can't really sense how large this thing is going to be. It looks pretty big though, but I could be wrong about that. It could be the size of the Rotten Flaming Pumpkins. But anyways, this one seems to be a almost has a strange facial structure to it, like a very strange looking pumpkin, but nonetheless really awesome and feels very classic Halloween to me. I don't know, there really isn't too many words I can describe this with other than that it's cool. So I guess let's take a look at our final item of the day, being this other pumpkin in this line of new pumpkins, I guess. Alright, and here's our final item of the day from Home Depot, being another one of these cartoony looking pumpkins. Definitely the same company, definitely out of the same line here. This one seems to be smaller though. I don't know why I'm getting the sense of that. It looks a little bit more plasticky too, but I don't know. This one's another really cool one. I'll try to get this one too if they're both relatively cheap. But I don't know. I like the other one better, but this one's another cool one. I like how it's glowing green too. That's another cool thing, and I do like the color they chose here. I like how they didn't go for the more deeper orange. It was more of a yellowy orange, which I do like. Definitely adding a lot of variety between these two. But overall, that's going to be it. So I'll do a quick wrap up of all the stuff, and then we'll cut to the outro. Alrighty, everybody. Well, that was Home Depot Halloween 2022 entire lineup. And I have to say, this year is looking better than last year already, in my opinion. Definitely a lot of really, really unique stuff here this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing this stuff in person. I'm a little bit disappointed how this stuff got leaked already. I was really looking forward to taking a look at it during the actual season. I feel like all their stuff should have been released at a much later period. I don't understand they're really thinking behind this. If they just waited to release all their photos and stuff when you could actually purchase them, I feel like there'd be a lot more impulse buying. But I don't know. Having all this stuff already given to us already just seems a little bit lackluster. And Home Depot's hype for it really didn't get enough chance to build, since it just kind of came out of the blue when all their stuff got dropped. So I don't really know how to feel about it. I'm pretty sure this is everything they have this year. I would be surprised if they did have a lot more animatronics we haven't seen yet, but I think for the most part, this is definitely it. But overall, I like it a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing this stuff in person. So I guess that's going to be it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, check out my merch and my Instagram in the description below. And with all that, as always, this is the Pixelated Pumpkin, signing out.